we think you are such an incredible stand-up guy. From the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you so much for finding it in your heart to forgive her. Thank you. And you tell your mother when you get out that I thank her for raising such an incredible gentleman.
No, I will.
Meet the parents is always interesting because when you meet the islanders, you sort of question the people that raised them in some of their behaviors. And meet the parents, for me, is always quite insightful because you get to see who raised this person and decipher why or who is responsible for their behavior. I loved, I loved almost everybody's Meet the Parents, bar Megan and Dijon. I'm going to put that aside. I loved Tony's mom taking a moment, even Shakira's mom taking a moment. Okay, Shakira's mom thanked Connor. He's a friend. It's not a romantic connection. But for Tony's mom to actually sit down with Cash and appreciate him for the man that he is, appreciate the people that raised him, I couldn't have asked for more. I was in tears. And now, even as I think about it, I really want to cry. And then Dijon's mother and sister, I'm just going to say, the secondhand embarrassment I have for them is difficult to describe because the audacity to reinforce the nonsense that is done and then for them to try and lecture everybody else without lecturing the people the person that they raised, the person that she birthed, doesn't make sense to me. And I'm here for Shakira's mom standing on business. You have to stand on business because Harry needs to know that there are boundaries. And now that he knows there are boundaries, he's going to act a certain way. I love his mom for sitting next to her son and supporting her son because she could tell her son was afraid of what had happened. But I love that everyone acknowledged that there were people in his ear that were sort of whispering things to him. And this is why he got to be the person that he was. I loved the girls, Yasmin, Tony, and Shakira, and how excited they were to meet each other's families, and how their families also acknowledged the friendship, which was good. Anyway, hey there, thanks for stopping by. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island UK, Season 12, Episode 50. So recoupling is over. You have Helena. She's distraught. She's being consoled by the clique. The clique was able to recruit Angel. Well, birds of a feather flock together. So they go to the changing room and Helena is saying she doesn't think she could be in the villa with Harry and Shakira. And it's like, why not? Why can't you be there? Why? Please tell us. We are waiting. The whole class wants to hear. It's not like they said they're going to the hideaway soon after recoupling, like you did. The moment Harry split with Shakira, you were already about to drag him to the hideaway had he not said no. So the audacity to want us to empathize with you. No, we remember very well on the daybeds when you said to Harry, now that you're single, shall we go to the hideaway and spend the night there? And he had to say, no, it's too fresh. We can't do that. Have you forgotten? You're reaping what you sowed. And I'm going to stand on that. You have Megan say, oh, don't worry. You don't want him. Shakira doesn't want him. Leave Shakira out of your mouths. She has nothing to do with what's going on with Helena. Karma is knocking on Helena's door. She did what she did and she's ripping it. For them to lie to her and say, oh, you looked very strong standing up there. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't, because she did what she did and now she's reaping the fruits of that. So we can keep it stepping. You have Harry in the den with Dijon. He's talking about the fact that he's disappointed everyone and is worried that he might lose his friendship with Dijon and Meg. And it's like, you never had them in the first place. You really didn't. Meg and Dijon are not your friends. They're like papers in the wind. They go whichever direction the wind is going, and that's where they go. The fact that they didn't even console you and Dijon didn't come and sleep outside with you when you were distraught, it should be enough to tell you that this is not a proper friend. This is a seasonal friend. And when, the wind changes direction, he's going to go with it. Wherever he thinks is most likely to sort of benefit him, that's the direction he's going. On the mini fire pit, you have Yaz, Tony, and Shakira. And Shakira, the girls are saying, are you happy that he chose you? And she's sort of saying, well, she doesn't want to look smug, but she's saying at the end of the day, had he left the day before, I would have been very upset, which leads me to believe that Harry wanted to leave. He told Shakira that if you are not going to be with me, then I'm leaving. And I think Shakira had to agree to couple up with him in order for him to stay. And so I think she likes him. I think she sees, she thinks he could change. And this is one of the things that's upset, Helena, the fact that Harry said for Shakira, he'll do everything to change. And Harry's got a type. He likes them of Asian descent. He likes them, highly intelligent, and it doesn't seem that, Helena missed the criteria. She was a fun time for him. We can see from Emma, we can see from Shakira, we know what his type is. So, hey, maybe next time. Anyway, I digress. You have Connor on the day beds with Meg now talking about, oh, would you have imagined that we were going to be finishing the final week together? Please, can we vote them out? I've already said how I feel about Connor. Connor is a nice guy, he's a nice friend, but Connor has moved in the villa like a menace, and he has moved in the villa under the radar, and it seems no one else bar me has caught up on that, and I don't get it because it's so in your face. On the terrace, you have Tony with Cash, and they're just flirting, and you're saying, they're talking about fairy tales, and Tony's saying it's like a fairy tale that we're back together and we're now in a couple, because they were in a couple. Harrison came in, and then they were single for a very long time after Billikis left, and then finally they're back in a couple. I don't know. I really don't know. I have mixed feelings about that because I wanted Cash with Billikis, but hey, who am I? You then have in the dressing room, you have Harry and Shakira, and they're just chatting. This is what I like about Shakira. Shakira mellows Harry. Shakira brings out the empathetic parts of Harry. Shakira sort of makes him want to be mature and sort of behave like a grown man. Unlike with Helena, it was just about flirting and stuff. So you have him sort of saying that he's happy he's in a couple with Shakira. Yes, he's sad that these two of them stood up there and he had to say what he said, but at the end of the day, he stands by it. And I give him credit because some of the stuff that he revealed at the fire pit, Helena wasn't aware. Nobody in the villa was aware because he hadn't told anyone bar Shakira. So the fact that he was willing to stand up there and open his heart to them and sort of let everybody know that this is why he's making this choice, I love it for him. And Shakira, I think this is one of the things that's sort of changing her opinion about him and sort of opening up her heart to him again. They did share a little cuddle and he wanted a kiss, but she wouldn't kiss him. And that's like make him work for it. It shouldn't come easy. So the islanders are getting ready for the night, and you have Harry saying to the guys he feels that it's a better night because things appear to have settled down for him a bit because he's been able to make a decision on who he wanted and he's been able to choose that person. Yes, there's still the issue that he hurt a lot of people, but he feels a lot better than he did the night before. He felt like trash, really. And you have Connor sitting in the corner playing with his red thread and he's looking some type of way. This is what I think. I think Connor is upset on a lot of sort of basis, not just because he's Shakira's friend. We all want to assume that he's upset because he's Shakira's friend. But if you look at it analytically, you can see that, you can remember that on day 2, Connor stood up for Shakira, wanting to explore a romantic connection. She said no, and she picked Harry. And then when he got into a couple with her, she sort of gave him the inkling that she was exploring it, but she left him again for Harry. So my thing is, I think he's upset at the idea that Harry has an opportunity to explore something with Shakira and he's not making the most of it. Some people might argue that no, he's with Meghan, he's always liked Meghan. He was too quick to jump onto that Meghan wagon, given how he had been exploring Shakira and given how upset he had been at the idea that Shakira didn't want to explore something romantic. So part of me believes that, yes, he's upset because he's Shakira's friend, but the other part is because he is someone who likes Shakira romantically, but Shakira didn't like him. And also, I feel like he's upset at the idea that Harry behaving himself now exposes Connor's plan, because nobody seems to have picked up on Connor's plan, that Connor has been as much a menace as Harry. The only difference is Connor has gone from girl to girl to girl. He hasn't really sort of explored both girls at the same time. That way they are upset and then things collide. But if you look at him, he's played hopscotch from girl to girl to girl, and no one has ever said anything about that. Anyway, the islanders pick up their drinks and you have Blue suddenly pull Helena for a chat. That was a dumpster fire on its part, because at the end of the day, I don't even know who or what gave Blue the idea that if he tries to explore a connection with Helena, she's going to be open to it. If he wanted to explore Helena romantically, he should have told Shakira, you pretend to like me and then Helena will come my way. Because at the end of the day, that is what she's done. She's always gone after anyone that somebody else wanted. She went after Harrison because Tony wanted him, and then she went after Harry and Ty because Shakira wanted them. So he should have asked somebody else to sort of go after her, and then he could have come in second place, and then she would have really, or someone to go after him, and then she would have come in to try and steal him away from that person. Then he would have stood a better chance. For I'm not surprised that she said, thank you for the speech. I love that you called out Harry, but now I just need you to be my friend. And it's like, yeah, she will friend zone you unless somebody else shows you interest, and then she'll be interested in you. Otherwise, then you're going to sit there and you're just going to have to wait until somebody else comes along and shows interest, and then she'll be interested in you. You had the guys in the den. You had Ty, Connor and Cash, and you had Connor sort of saying, I love the fact that Blue, even though he's been rejected several times, he keeps standing up and going again and going again. And it's like, what choice does he have? If he wants to stay on the show, he has to do that. And sadly, this is his third rejection on the same show. So he's been dumped, he's come back only for him to be rejected by the girls. Next thing, they have to dump him, because what is he staying in the show for? He doesn't have a romantic connection, he doesn't have any storyline, he might as well have gone home. They really wasted money on that ticket. They really did. Anyway, you have Harry and Shakira having a conversation. Harry is a totally different man when he's around Shakira. I'm going to repeat that. He's very calm. He's very laid back. He's very empathetic. He's very understanding. They were talking about Shakira and Shakira's friends, and he was worried. I think he's worried that what will her friends or family say about him. And he actually brought it up because at the end of the day, he knows he hasn't moved around the right way. I think had he had that hideaway Helena night and then come back to Shakira and behaved himself all along, then things would have been different. But the fact that he left Shakira and didn't come back or didn't seem to look back is his biggest worry. Shakira said, she doesn't have that many friends. She's got a couple of people that are her friends and the rest are acquaintances. Harry says the same. And she says she already has her bridesmaids picked up. And it's like, Shakira has a plan. She really is a girl on a mission. We then have Yasmin and Jamie go on the terrace. This I don't understand. That speech was cut and paste. I have a feeling he asked her to be his girlfriend, or he asked her to be exclusive. But production don't want us to know that, because at the end of the day, we already have an exclusive and girlfriend and girlfriend situation. Because why would he say that speech? And that speech didn't seem to make sense, in my opinion. Parts of it, I believe, were taken out. Because they are the people's choice, but they're not production's choice. Jamie and Yasmin are people's choice, but not production's team or favorites. I think this is why they're sort of editing them that way. They shared the cute little kiss on the terrace. That was really sweet. Because they're sort of saying to one another, my feelings for you are growing stronger, and my experience has been better. Definitely, I said that this man brings out qualities in Yasmin that are calmer and more settled. She's not the same Yasmin from day one who was just speaking her mind and doing whatever she wants. The islanders get ready for the night. They all get into bed. And you can see Helena's got a long face. Even when the lights went out, she was still listening in. And it's like, what is she listening in for? What is she going to do? Next thing, she's going to be standing over Harry and Shakira at this rate. Surprise, surprise. Megan and Dijon were at it again. Hey, not surprised. I thought she was high and mighty. I thought she said she didn't do that. What's happened? This is the second or third time the camera has caught them. In the morning, the islanders wake up, and as they wake up, someone is making signals like it's smelling in the bedroom. And then you now have Shakira giggling. I don't know what she was giggling about, whether she's the one who had released wind or whether it was something totally different. I do not get it. But anyway, you then have people wake up, the guys go to make drinks, the girls go and do their makeup. And Connor is saying in the kitchen to the guys, Shakira is already folded. I don't get how Harry does it. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I truly believe that Connor, part of him is upset for Shakira as a friend, but part of him is jealous in the sense that he wanted Shakira romantically, he couldn't get her, and suddenly Harry has done whatever nonsense he's done, he's come back, and Shakira still wants him. And so I feel this is where it's coming from, because if it was him being concerned as a friend, he would have pulled her aside and told her, don't give in so easily. This man really has to work to earn you before you can give him anything that he wants, otherwise he's going to do the same thing again. But surprisingly, he decided to sort of gossip about Shakira, and it's like, this man is envious. He is envious that Harry has something that he doesn't have. Harry has a girl pining over him. I can't compare Harry and Shakira to Connor and Megan. Sorry, they're on two different playing fields. Not because the guys have been menaces, but the connection. I feel Harry and Shakira's connection is much more mature and more stronger than Connor and Megan and whatever they're trying to sell us. In the kitchen, you have people making breakfast. Helena is making whatever she was making, a yogurt bowl or something. And Harry asks her, what are you making? She says, a yogurt bowl. Harry then sits down with Shakira for a date on the island. And you have Helena and the clique with Dijon sort of complaining bitterly. Why is he having breakfast with her? Oh, just imagine he's pretending as though I'm not even there. All he did since he uncoupled with me is he asked me, what are you making for breakfast? Just imagine, last week we were exclusive, this week he's behaving as though he doesn't even know me. And it's like, this man didn't care about you the way you wanted him to care about you. He's told you this countless times, and you have chosen to ignore it because in your head you have ideas of what your relationship is or how you wanted your relationship to play out. And so for Megan to then say, oh, he asked you what you were making and then he went ahead and made Shakira the same thing, it's like, this is what triggered Helena to pull Harry for a chat. She didn't need to pull him for a chat. Seriously. She told him that I will never be your friend after we uncouple. So why are we pulling him for a chat? For her to moan and try and get, or to emotionally sort of blackmail him into coupling up with her. I do not get it. Because she was crying, oh, you haven't even checked up on me. You haven't even made sure that I'm okay. You haven't even checked up on me since the fire pit. Don't you think I'm upset? Don't you? We do not care, madam. We do not care. So there's no point to guilt trip this man. For her to start crying and have him console her, that's what she wanted. That's what she wanted. This was the long and short of it. She just wanted him to cuddle her and appear as though he cared. She wants him to give what he gave to Shakira, because when Shakira was crying, she didn't need to go looking for him. He came looking for her, and this is what she wants. Oh, you're moving on. What did you expect him to do? Did you expect him to stay in one position and continue to moan in fetal position that, oh my God, I've broken up with Helena? Make it make sense. Anyway, the islanders are just hanging around the villa and it's meet the parents. So we have Tony and Cash's family members arrive first. I actually loved it. Because with Tony, you had her mum and her friend. I've seen clips of her mum on sort of TikTok just talking about Tony's experience. And then you had Cash's sister and brother. I love the mother. The mother was like, you made a very big mistake. Cash is a great guy. She actually made me cry. I don't even want to, she made me cry when she spoke to Cash. Because first off, she spoke to her daughter and she said, you made a mistake. I cried when you made that choice to choose that man, because I don't even understand what voodoo or what spell you're under for you to choose him. I love the way Cash handled himself and how he handled the situation, which was really sweet to hear a parent speak nicely of or positively about their child's, partner. She said, she loves her daughter, but at the end of the day, she was upset when that happened. Cash's sister wasn't on board with what Tony had done, the fact that they embarrassed him. The brother was saying, I had to look away when you're crying because it really broke my heart. And it would be upsetting for family members, especially if they don't have all the clips of exactly what's happened. I love that Cash was quick to silence them and say, no, it's over, we've moved on, we've made up, we're moving on. But you could tell the sister was still not on board. So Cash then called Tony and her mum and her friend to come over. And I love that before they went to sit down, the mother pulled Cash for a chat. Oh my God. I don't think we'll ever see a better Meet the Parents. I thought Jomi meeting his grandparents last season was amazing, but this I think has surpassed it, because the fact that you had the mother sit down with Cash and appreciate him as a man and thank him for how he looked after her daughter and how he was willing to forgive her daughter. She spoke about how she cried, how her husband cried because they were really upset about the way Cash was treated. And the final thing that she did that I felt was amazing was she thanked Cash's mom. Please thank your mom and tell her that, thank you very much for raising an amazing son, and know that anytime you want to come to the US, you're welcome. I really loved it for him. I really loved it because it shows, because you could hear the other islanders saying Tony's mom really likes Cash, and she was able to express that and sort of let him know how she feels, and you could see that he was embarrassed. He didn't know how to take it. He was so overwhelmed with emotion. I think he didn't want to cry in the presence, but I think I wouldn't be surprised if he went in a little corner and cried, because it's nice to know that people appreciate you for just being you. After that, they sat at the fire pit. Cash's sister and brother were trying to behave themselves, but then the sister was like, communication, you need to work on communication, because I think with Cash's family, they're not upset that Tony decided to recouple with Harrison. They're upset at the idea that she didn't tell Cash first. She should have told Cash. That would have taken away a lot of heartbreak. But then production is in control of who tells whom. And I don't think they would have allowed her to tell him first. I think they would have sort of kept it back and said, don't tell him until after recoupling. And one other thing that I loved about Tony's mom was before they left, you had Tony sort of say, do you want to meet everyone? They met everyone. And Shakira and Yasmin were running to greet, Tony's mom. And then you had Tony's mom speak to Harry and say, next time, before you make any decisions, think of everybody else and then make your decision, which I thought was cute. That she didn't chastise him, she didn't speak in a derogatory way, but she just gave him some constructive feedback, which I think Harry really appreciated and took on board. So that was cute. Next up is Dijon and Meg. As someone who was raised by a loving, caring, compassionate, empathetic mother, I struggle to understand Dijon's mum. I'm going to be honest. I really struggle to understand her because at the end of the day, I always say every parent loves their child and there's different ways to raise your child. People raise their child how they know they can cope. If you can cope with a spoiled child, you raise a spoiled child. If you can cope with an empowered child, you empower your child. There's one thing to raise your child to be an independent, confident, productive adult. And then there's an enabler parent. And sadly, Dijon's mum, in my opinion, falls in the latter. Because I don't know this woman. I don't know every single thing that she said to her son. But what she said or what we heard, I do not like. First off, you had Meg's mum and sister. They sat down with Meg. And they were saying, the family is happy to see you. We all love seeing you. We think you look happy. And then they did bring up their concerns. Well, her sister brought up her concerns about Dijon, that, he gives player vibes, he gives manipulative vibes, and so they are worried about that. And Megan is just, but we're boyfriend and girlfriend now. But we're boyfriend and girlfriend. Boyfriend and girlfriend does not equate to marriage. Even marriage can lead to divorce. So the idea and the audacity to think that now that she's his girlfriend, that's going to change him is really sad. Dijon's mom and sister, I am shocked. Given what the sister said initially during her TikTok that I came across, I know his brother, I just don't agree with his reviews, so I've blocked him. I've made sure that I don't, anytime I come across his reviews, I just skip, because at the end of the day, I think he's in La La Land. And seeing their mom, it seems like they've all decided to be in La La Land and not be realistic and honest with Dijon, which is not to his benefit, in my opinion. Yes, his mom brought up that he is a big flirt, but then I didn't like the fact that she said you need to stop apologizing to Yasmin. And it's like, what sort of mother are you if you're saying you should stop apologizing to Yasmin, given how your son spoke to the girls that led to Yasmin wanting to have a conversation with him? So are you saying you co-sign all the things you were saying to the girls during the kissing competition? Is that what you're saying? Don't apologize. For her to say the girls are not your friends, of all the things that his mother could have come and said, I expected her to say, look at your sister. How would you feel if someone spoke to your sister the way you spoke to Bellicus? Or how would you feel if someone spoke to your sister the way you've been speaking to some of these girls? How would you feel if your sister's partner treated her the way you've been treating Megan? That's what I would have expected from a constructive, productive, I'm going to leave it at that, and supportive support system. Not to come and enable someone's bad tendencies and say, these people are not good friends, be mindful of what. And then she had the audacity to sort of say to Megan, oh, baby girl is in our vocabulary, they get it from their dad. No. Let's not be complicit with stupid. Let's not be complicit with stupid. For her to have nothing to say to her son and have a mouthful for the islanders doesn't make sense. Yes, you had, Meg's mom talk about Dijon being very flirty. And Megan, I didn't understand why she said to her parents, to her family, oh, don't say anything because I have to deal with it. To make it seem as though she's in an abusive relationship whereby she has to be mindful of every single thing that she does or else she'll be in trouble. I didn't understand that. For Dijon's mom to open her top and bottom lip and say, oh, let's be mindful of the things that we say because we have loved ones watching. Say that to your son first and foremost before you say it to anybody else. Say those words to your son. So you see the log in everybody else's eye. You see the twig in everybody else's eye, but you don't see the massive log sitting in your son's eye. Make that make sense. For him to be confused to say, I don't understand why they're saying the girls are not your friends. The thing that Dijon and Meg need to do when they leave the show is go home, lock themselves in a room separately and watch it. And then realize how they came across and ask themselves, is my family supporting me or enabling my stupid? So you have Yasmin and Jamie next. I loved them Meet Their Family. I loved Meet Their Family because it was the sweetest thing ever. You had Jamie's mom and brother, and then you had Yasmin's sister and, well, her twin sister and her mom. And it was really cute to see how they all were celebrating this connection and the relationship and talking about the qualities that they were found very endearing about each person. So that was cute. The sit down for everyone to meet was amazing. Jamie couldn't stop touching Yasmin, and it's like, oh my god, leave her alone. When Jamie's mom brought up how Billikis reacted to, Jamie holding her bum, that was interesting that, at least they are talking about other things just outside of their loved ones. But I think that was one of the smoothest, one of the easiest going sort of Meet the Family because there was no tension. Yes, they acknowledged that there was this sort of exploration with Blue, but it didn't go far. So they were happy with that I loved. And then you had Shakira crying because she was now worried that when her mom comes, how will her mom behave or how will her mom react to the idea that she's now back with Harry, which is understandable because Harry hasn't had a straight line to and from Shakira. So it's understandable that Shakira would be very nervous because obviously she knows the woman that raised her and the things that she'll tolerate and the things that she won't tolerate. Harry felt some type of way because he knew that he was the reason why she was upset. And Harry is totally different beast around Shakira. He's very protective, very supportive, very empathetic. He's always around her with her arm around her, just consoling her. And so to see him there and just sit and be quiet and not make it about him was amazing. He didn't say to her, so what shall I do? No, he just sat and listened to her worries. When her mom came, Shakira broke down. It was sad to watch. It was really sad to watch. She needed that cry because she had cried to Tony before, but she really needed that cry in her mother's arms. Harry cried when he saw his mum, because he felt very emotional because he understood where he was coming from. For the girls to come in because Shakira was being held by her mum and sister while she was crying in, and then for Tony and Yasmin to come into that hug. Oh, that was the sweetest thing ever. And Shakira and her mom went to the fire pit with her sister, and you had Harry sit just on the couches or what used to be the cushions before. And so they sit down, they start having conversations. Harry's mom sort of, brought up that he's been playing games and he's been very naughty, and it's, I love that she called out her son. But then she also spoke about the fact that she felt that his connection with, Helena was more best mates. It wasn't anything romantic. He spoke to his mum. And I love that they gave him constructive feedback and told him that you really don't have friends in this villa because the night everything fell apart for you and you slept outside on the daybeds, no one came to sleep with you. And Harry tried to ask his friend that, how do you feel about my friendship with Dijon? And the friend more or less implied that, your friend is supposed to be a rider. He's supposed to ride or die with you and call you out in private. But if your friend is leaving you in the wind for everybody else to attack you, then that's not your friend. Whether or not Harry heard that, I don't know, but that's what he needed to hear. Because for Dijon's mother to be telling her son that you don't have any friends, she should have told her son, why didn't you support your friend when he was in trouble? That's the advice she needed to give her friend. And so I'm happy that, Harry's family were telling him that, Dijon might not be your best friend as you assume he is. He might be after games because they actually brought the game player thing. And so you then had Shakira with her mom. Her mom really appreciates Shakira. I think a lot of people appreciate Shakira for how she's sort of carried herself and been non-confrontational or territorial. When people were trying to explore Harry, she just sat back and watched. Even the night that he spent with Helena and the Hathaway, she didn't make a scene out of it. So the mom was saying, everybody in Burnley loves you. They think you did amazing, which was really cute. And then you have sort of Shakira call Harry to come across. The mother initially didn't want to speak to Harry. I think she was that upset. I think she wanted to do it off camera. Later, she agreed to speak to him, but she said she also wanted to shake Connor's hand. So she sat down, and I love that they called him out for his bad behaviors. Yes, his mom tried to make light of it, but the fact that you had Shakira's mom say, this is not funny how he's moved because it's really broken two people. So you had Shakira's mom and sister sitting away from Harry, and Shakira was sort of a buffer in between the two of them. And it was like, oh, why are you doing that? He's not that bad. Yes, he's done bad things, but it's not that bad. At least they told Shakira, you know, Shakira's family told her that Harry was being pushed by people to explore with Helena. So there's partly that. And it was brought up when the families met, but they said, you know, he's a grown man. He should be able to sort of stand up for himself. He doesn't need to sort of be listening to other people. So Harry, as much as he really likes Shakira, I hope when he leaves the villa, he really puts in the work and he makes the efforts to actually prove himself, not only to Shakira, but to the mother. Because I can see them working. I think this has been a very sort of teachable moment for him, and if he's wise, he'll take it on board. If he doesn't use it in his relationship with Shakira, he'll use it in the rest of his relationships, and it will make him a better man. So I can't wait to see that. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 49. Bye guys.